Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to DissDash. My name is Monty Kataria, and today we're joined by not just a wellness leader, but a scientist, a health innovator, yogi, and a classically trained singer as well, Dr. Rhea Mehta. Thank you so much for your time, and I am so excited to speak to you.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to this interview.
All right, for the individuals that do not know who the yogi or the scientist or the singer, Dr. Rhea Mehta is, can you give us a quick backstory about you and your life?
Yeah, sure. Where do I begin? I grew up in a very small rural Canadian community. My father was a refugee from East Africa. My mom was an immigrant from India, from Gujarat, and so we grew up in this very small French Canadian community. But I grew up, surrounded by Indian culture because my mom held on to her practices and her rituals so strongly. And so even though we were in this French Canadian community, we were listening to Nazarpata Ali Khan and doing bhajans at home and mantras and celebrating all the events and inviting all the community. And so that was sort of my upbringing. Because of my health complications early on in life, I decided to just move into the space of health because I was so interested in being able to be my own doctor and start to make decisions for myself and advocate for myself, because I was feeling very misguided by what I was being offered in the system, and I was getting more and more side effects and stuff. So that just threw me into a path of higher education, getting my Ph.D. in toxicology, understanding toxicity in the body. And then my father passed away around midway through my Ph.D. And then that threw me into this whole soul searching journey. And I discovered meditation. I discovered through my PhD, my PhD was in nutritional sciences and toxicology. So I started understanding the value of actually nutrients. And so I just went on this wild journey of basically a spiritual awakening and traveling all over the world, starting to just ask a number of questions about my ancestry, try and understand, just who I am. And through that process, started to uncover, more and more of this ancient wisdom that is part of my own ancestral lineage, and probably a part of the ancestral lineage of many people who are listening to this. And and then that just sort of inspired me to sort of play a role in blending Eastern and Western medicine and just sort of playing in that space and that spectrum.
Celebrating your soul ceremony, your EP. How was the initial spiritual and creative process, and what kind of led you to release an artistic project like that, bringing everything together, for the world?
Yeah, so as you mentioned when you introduced me, I've been studying classical and training as a classical musician for a number of years, and so I always wanted to release something and step into my artistry, but I just didn't quite have for me it has to be purpose driven. I need to feel there's some message and some kind of powerful message for the audience and for the universe. And so because of what was happening with the pandemic, and we know that we're in a mental health crisis right now, and it's global. That played a big role. I would say me moving back to India and starting to relearn the traditions that were taught to me by my mom growing up, and then studying yoga in other parts of the world, and realizing how a lot of the traditions that I grew up with were not really shared to me in a way that my family had shared them to me. So as an example, pronunciation, I was learning basically Western melodies for mantras that were, that weren't Western ever. And I wasn't learning the origin stories. And so I just, I kind of at that moment felt really empowered to start to reclaim my culture and start to share it in a very authentic way and bring it back to the West in a way that actually tells the story of the lineage versus, the story in the West is very much, the origin story of yoga as an example of the spirituality of India and ancient India is very much forgotten. So I just felt okay, now I can really now I just have a very strong root to connect to for me to now birth this project, Soul Ceremony.
Decolonizing wellness. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that term can definitely trigger a lot of people. But we're Indians, we understand that our country was or South Asians are many of our countries were colonized, and so and not just countries, but a lot of our our goods, our ancient healing tools. And so, yoga has been colonized. What I mean by that is, there's a lot of people who appropriate yoga. There's a lot of people who also appreciate yoga. Wellness has been colonized. If you go to, anywhere, any like coffee shop in North America, you're getting like a turmeric latte, right? So turmeric,
Right,
obviously, like so many of our like wonderful, ancient healing tools and foods have been taken from us. And so my idea was, let me be part of this, because I'm not a leader in this. There's so many other leaders in this space.
Sure.
I'm just contributing to this, to this space of decolonizing yoga, of decolonizing wellness, of decolonizing mantra. And the problem with mantra specifically is that most of the mantra leaders in the world are, non-Indians. And that's a problem, or non-South Asians. That's a major problem. And, they're not pronouncing it properly. And I believe that if you're not sharing the medicine properly, then you're actually like you lose the potency. And I can even feel it. So my intention was, let me meditate on these mantras, let me connect to my ancestors, let me go back onto the earth, and the lands, and and the spiritual lands, and then share the music from that place, as a way to then hopefully, carry the potency forward.
Of course, with your with a passion project as Soul Ceremony, do you think it reaches a wider audience? Idea
is, sharing this as a subliminal message. I don't ever want to, project a healing practice onto somebody, especially if, I'm also trying to step away from the idea that mantras are a religious practice. They are, they're an ancient South Asian practice. They're, the mantras predate religion. Many of the mantras that are they're in the Vedic scriptures, they predate religion. And so, maybe Hinduism has, and Jainism and some other religions have connected with them and brought them into their practices. But I'm trying to share that they are actually ancient wisdom, and try and step away from the idea that, they're tied to any particular religion or practice, because I think that might turn people off. But also, the idea is, I'm just trying to create like beautiful, uplifting music, and there's lots of beautiful instrumentation in there. I'm still sharing the mantras in a way that, like in the way that I'm trained, we share the mantras at least six times, as a way to, bring the energy forward. So again, I'm not telling people that. In the music video, I do share a little bit of text around the fact that, this is an ancient practice. I am hoping to bring this back, share, so that we can bring more light into the world. So I'm telling that story in a very subtle way. But the idea is, let's turn this into beautiful music and have people, at a spa, like skiing, wherever, meditating, just resting, listening to this music, and not really knowing what it's doing, that it's actually working on you, because it is. It's, these mantras are purifying the mind, body, spirit, and they're so powerful, but no one needs to know that. Just receive the music.
DissDash, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rhea Mehta, Soul Ceremony EP is out right now, and please watch the video to learn and to indulge yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Diyo yo na prajo